Hello and welcome back to Raise Create Cards. I am so glad that you are here with me. And for all of those who have recently subscribed to my channel, I thank you. I appreciate you so much. If this is your first time visiting my channel, welcome. And if you are a repeat visitor, welcome. All right. So I know a lot of times if we are wanting to make Christian Christmas cards, sometimes it's hard to always find the right materials to do that with. And so today I wanted to take one of our new sets that's in our new mini catalog that just launched called Sweet Candy Canes. And I want to show you how you can take the candy cane and make that into a Christian themed Christmas card, okay? All right, so yesterday as I was in here designing, I made such a mess. I had to put out new paper and everything because I had red ink all over me. And the star of the show today, we're going to be making two cards, but the star of the show for the first card is going to be the Stamparatus. So let me get that and bring that over. Okay, and I have already got my two candy cane stamps pre-mounted on a piece of basic white cardstock, just big enough for me to do the stamping and die cutting that we need for the first card. And when I get finished with the cards today, I'll show you what my original ones look like. I'm changing them up just a little bit, and I'll explain why along the way. All right, so true to form, we are going to ink up our candy canes in real red ink. And hopefully I can do this without making too big of a mess. However, I did have enough foresight to go and grab my wet wipes just in case. Now, I noticed yesterday when I was doing this that it actually took 2 and sometimes 3 times for me to get a good, solid impression with the red ink. And honestly, there are times it had like variated tones, which weren't bad. Like some areas might be a little bit darker than others, but it was okay. I was good with that because honestly, when you look at some of your peppermints and candy canes that are made, sometimes that red dye isn't uniform either. So as you can tell over here on the side, I'm kind of missing the mark there, and it's because I'm not pressing hard enough, I guess. But let's try this one more time. I want to look, make sure I haven't left any lines in there from the ink pad. I don't think I do. So I've been playing with my lighting, and I don't know if it's as bright as I like, but I'm hoping for the most part to avoid any glare, anything that would interfere with your ability to see everything clearly. So we'll hope I did this right. I won't really know until I review this video before I upload it. All right, I am still missing the mark right there. And it's funny because, you know, sometimes with a Stamparatus, if you have your cardstock like up in the very corner and you're stamping over close to the side, it can be kind of hard to get that in there. Now, I've put a little shim under mine. You can see a piece of it sticking out. I wonder if that shim is actually keeping me from getting good stamping there. Normally, that little shim does me well, but let me try this one more time. So I don't want to have to keep re-inking it if I don't have to. All right, so somehow, some way, I am not getting that inked up real well. So we'll just go ahead and do them all. Just go ahead. All right. Well, yours truly is still dealing with some internet issues, and I think the problem affects more than just me out here where we live. The lead tech actually came out here this morning and checked out our equipment on the outside, and the way mine works is it depends on direct line of sight with one of the towers. However, it's either that or going with satellite, because we don't have any cable companies or fiber companies that come out to our neck of the woods. We're a little bit off the beaten track out here. I don't know. Let me try that one more time. I would like that filled in just a little bit more. Really don't want to risk getting ink on the hinges. So I'm just going to remove this one, because I don't need that one stamped again. Let's see if I can manage to get this one more time. Whoops, missed a little ink down there on the very bottom. Make sure I get all that. And I'm going to get out my tool that my husband made me and see if that doesn't help. But it doesn't get all the way up in that corner. But that's not where I needed it. I needed it to the inside here. Let me see what that did. Much better, much better. And like I said, there are variations that can occur, and I am okay with that. So I am actually done with this for the moment. So we're going to take this out. Look at this. See what I'm talking about? I was so covered in red ink yesterday. So ever so quickly, I'm going to take a wet wipe and get that off. Actually, no, I'm just going to take a towel here and rub that real well. See if I can get all this off. Just so I don't transfer it. Because on my second card yesterday, I meant for it to have a white background. And it got messed up because I didn't realize I had ink on the back of my hand. So when that happened, then I had to try to cover it up. Totally ruined the design. But anyway. All right, now the other thing I want to do for this first card is to take that foliage stamp that comes in the sweet candy canes, and we're going to stamp 3 of those. I've got plenty of room on here to do that and be able to die cut it as well. So here's one. I'm using Pear Pizzazz, by the way. I didn't even tell you what color of green that I was using, but I thought Pear Pizzazz was a good color to go with these candy canes. Okay, but anyway, the tech came out, he looked, and like I was saying, it depends on line of sight, and he noticed that between us and the tower that's up on the small mountain near us, he could see the house, but he couldn't see the equipment. And he was looking at it and realized there was a big tree in the way, and so yeah, that means getting permission from the homeowner to cut it down. And in the worst case scenario, they could install an extra transmitter and or think about moving our little dish that receives the signal. So we'll see how things go. He was able to do some adjusting. My upload speed, which had been reduced to about 10% of capacity, and that really hurts when I'm trying to upload YouTube videos, y'all, went up to about 40 to 50%. So, you know, something is better than nothing. So I'm content to just wait and kind of see how things work out and, yeah, go from there. But in the meantime, my internet is intermittent. Like if it's getting the signal, I'm good to go. If it loses the signal for any reason, and we've been having little pop-up showers and what I call wind storms, where the wind picks up. There's no rain or storm or anything, but the wind will start through, and I'm guessing that is when it was knocking out my my internet. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Let's get ready and die cut these. Now, I told you in my last video, I believe it was my last one, that I had walked into my card room and my magnetic plate for sure was really separating bad, like a whole corner had come up. And I told you, not, if you had yours and it was doing the same thing, not to throw yours away. you know, bide your time and wait for me to get back to you on it. Okay, so this looks a little funny, okay? When it peeled up, like the whole corner, like this was peeled up all the way to about right in here. And when it did that, it created this humps right here, okay? So my husband took it and went out there to the building, and he used contact cement to glue this back together. And you can see a little bit of a trace along the edge, but it doesn't hurt anything. But you can see it there along the edges. Now, the contact cement he used, we're not talking Elmer's contact cement or rubber cement like the kids use. This is made by DAP. It comes in a red can. This is industrial strength stuff. Like, it's really strong, and you have to use it in a well-ventilated area. So he brought it back into me, and right in here, there was like a mountain right here and right here. And I said, I can't do that. I can't have anything that is less than flat going through my machine. So he took it back out to his building and he sanded it just enough to get rid of that crease. Well, when he did that, it revealed this kind of funny green color. You can't see it from the edges at all. And so I'm not sure just what that is right there, but I have actually been using it the last few days, and it's holding really well. It's not interfering with the way I'm die cutting. My die cuts are still coming out really well. So if you have a husband who is handy with doing those kind of repairs, and that has some kind of a circular sander where he can use like a fine grit sander, I wouldn't go at it with anything hard and heavy, and I didn't think to ask him what grit that he sanded that with, but nevertheless, go slow and build up, right? All right, let me get out. So the coordinating dies are called candy cane dies. Really cute. And there's this luscious little background die, which I haven't used yet. I have cut out with it, but I haven't used it yet, and I'm not using it on today's card either. So I need both of these, and they give you 2 of the foliage, and so I'm only going to have to die cut twice. Okay, and that other die cut that you saw, that is actually a die cut you can use, and you can absolutely make a tag with holes in it to slip a candy cane through, which I thought was really, really cute. All right, let me get these lined up. As a matter of fact, let me just turn this so that you guys can see what I'm doing. And if I can get these lined up the way they're supposed to be, even, all that good stuff. Oops, don't do that. Okay, but guys, I gotta tell you, I'm having a hard time getting into the idea of making Christmas cards. And yes, I know it is prudent to start early. Life happens, things happen that can cause us not to get them done in a timely fashion. And yes, it's really, really hot. We're having our own little heat wave here in East Tennessee, but I'm just not ready to let go of summer yet. I'm not ready for fall yet. I will tell you this, it's really strange. So I have a mum bush. I call it a bush because it's actually grown into a small bush shape, and it's blooming. It already has a few little blooms on it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We're not even technically all the way to the middle of July yet. Why is that blooming now? But it is, so, I don't know if it means that the plant got confused, because we did have kind of an extended springtime where it stayed cool longer than it normally did. And we had a lot more rain in the spring than maybe what we always sometimes did. So, All right, let me see if I can flitch that off of there. Okay, we got our 2 pieces of foliage here, if I can get a hold of them. There we go. I finally ate something a while ago. I hadn't ate all day, and finally about, I don't know, it was 1, 2 o'clock. I finally did get a little something to eat, and I ate some veggie pasta with a cheese sauce, and had just a heated up hamburger patty where he had grilled them outside. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And that's all I had, but my energy is still kind of way up there. All right, let's get this last one, and then we can get this out of the way for the minute. We'll need it here in a little bit, but not yet. Not just yet. Okay. And get my, I'll get this put back in here. And I don't know how y'all do yours. I actually, because I'm using my die cut machine so much, I just put it back in there and then move it. Okay, now I'm gonna get my die case back over here and put that away and this away. And I know I'm gonna need one of these here in a little bit, but I'm still gonna go ahead and just put that in there so I know it's not gonna mysteriously disappear. All right, and let's get rid of this scrap. All right, then we got our 2 candy canes here and our 3 little bits of foliage. There's 1. I may need to get out my take your pick tool if I can't pick up any better than that. All right, so for the card base, I just elected to use Pear Pizzazz, typical 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I'm just gonna fold and burnish just ever so quickly. There we go. And this one is going to be a portrait card. I didn't tell you that up front. Now, one of the things I've had, and I haven't really been able to get into it and use it, is our craft paper that is in our annual catalog. It is 6 by 6. You get 20 sheets. This stuff it's pretty hefty. It's got some body to it. And so I cut it down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I ran it through one of the new embossing folders in our mini catalog, and it's called Whimsical Woodland 3D Embossing Folder. And it's good size. It is really good size. And isn't that beautiful? I love that. My original card, that's not what I used, but it was a retired embossing folder, and I knew I couldn't use that today, so I went and got this one out. And we're just going to go ahead and glue that down. But I feel kind of bad complaining about the internet, but honestly, right now at this point in my life, I kind of depend on it, especially in trying to do YouTube videos. I have temporarily, at least for now, I've canceled my Saturday Facebook Lives, and I did that for a couple of reasons. 9 times out of 10, I do my card classes on Saturdays. I'm now holding 2 card classes a month. And by the time it's over and I can get home and get unpacked and catch my breath, it's time to go live. And I try to make sure I'm pre-prepared before Saturday, but sometimes there might be some things that I wasn't able to get done last minute. And then the last video that I did last Saturday, so I told Facebook to save it, and it uploaded it, and the audio and the video did not match. And as you got into the video, my voice cut out so bad you couldn't even hear it. So then I had to redo a pre-recorded video. I uploaded it here to YouTube and went ahead then and shared it to my Facebook page. So between issues on my end and issues on Facebook's end, there's a lot of prep that goes into doing these videos and things, guys. And to me, it's not, you know, I'm not willing to continue to keep beating my head against a brick wall. So until things change and stabilize with our internet, and you know, it could have been my internet that did that, but I don't know. It was just really odd, really odd that the video didn't stutter, the video didn't stall, just the audio. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd, isn't it? All right, so this was my vision for this. Let's see. I want this one coming down about like so, because I have to have room for my my sentiment down here, right about there. So I'm doing my little dry fit, and I want a little piece of greenery about there, and a little piece of greenery right where they kind of intersect. And then I want one more. Do I want it here? That doesn't look too bad. Now, because I have 5 pieces and I don't want to have to glue anything the wrong way, I have a piece of press and seal pre-cut that I can lay down over my image. Y'all have seen me use this before. I used to be in a bigger habit of using it than what I am now. And so I'm slowly kind of getting back into that. And because it is such a easy method for taking some stress out of our card making. And so now I'm going to, and you can use these pieces more than once. Like, I find that on average, I can use one about 3 times before it finally loses too much of its sticky. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the box. And this is where you'll find this where your lunch bags, your saran wrap, and all that kind of thing is. It was actually invented by Jennifer McGuire's husband. And if you don't know who she is, look her up. She's not Stamping Up, but she does fantastic cards. And you'll get a lot of good inspiration from her. Absolutely. All right, so I'm just going to put down a little bit of glue. Not a whole lot, but I need enough because this is embossed. It's got hills and valleys. And so I want to make sure where these cross over. And then down around on the edges and on the sides. Okay, now. Yeah, my poor little glue bottle. I've used it hard and heavy this week. I should have washed it, before I made this video. And so I know I don't want it hanging off the card because we're already on our card base and I don't want it hanging off. So just making sure I'm within the boundaries, pressing that down, giving that glue a second to kind of start catching that. And peel this back. All right, there we go. See how much easier that was than trying to pick up all 5 pieces and then hoping that you glued down the first one in the right orientation, etc. Okay, so here we go. Now, it is time to do the sentiment on the outside. And let me tell you what I did. This doesn't come from any kind of stamp set. I got online the other day and I did a search for the candy cane legend. Now, there's a couple of different versions out there, but this was the one I found. Whoops. And I printed this out. And I thought, well, this is awesome, but I can't cut this out and use this on a card. It's way too large. So I sat down at my computer, opened up Microsoft Word, picked a easy-to-read font, and printed, copied and pasted it about 4 times down the left margin, leaving the other side of my cardstock blank so that I could use that for die cutting the candy canes, etc. Okay, so this is what I came up with. Okay, so here we go. Look at the candy cane. What do you see? Stripes that are red like the blood shed for me. White is for my Savior, who is sinless and pure. J is for Jesus, my Lord for sure. Turn it around and a staff you'll see. Jesus, my shepherd, was born for me. Isn't that awesome? For adults, for children. If you all like to do handmade cards for the children in your life or children at church, isn't that perfect? Now you see what I was saying about how we can take something like the candy cane and we can turn that into a Christian message. So if you have this set, or if you have any other kind of a candy cane set, you can do the same thing. There are several sites out there that have this poem. Just download it and say it, you know, print it out, and then do what I did. You could do the same thing in WordPad if that's all you have to type onto. Pick the font you want and the size you want. I will tell you that this was like a size 14, and I don't remember the name of the font, which doesn't matter because everybody's got different fonts, right? A few years ago, I was really into doing a lot of digital art, and I was a font junkie. I have got tons of fonts on my computer that other people are not going to have. So whatever you have that will be easy to read and the size that you want, and I'll show you. I went back later. So here's my original, okay? And I just cut and pasted it. Oops, sorry, I hit my holder here. I cut and pasted it 4 times. That's going to leave me a nice little piece right here, and it left me half of my cardstock over here for die cutting and other uses, okay? Rather than just filling out a whole sheet, because honestly, I'm not sure I want to do 8 cards all the same. If you go to mass produce, you absolutely can, and that way there you could copy and paste this to fill up your whole page. Now, I thought, you know, sometimes that might be a little bit on the big side. I cut this out with the Deckled rectangle dies, and let me show you the ones I used to kind of give you a point of reference. So I used the 3rd largest, well, I say 3rd largest, 3rd from the middle. So the small, the next biggest, and then the next biggest is the one I used for the background piece that I have cut out of Pizzazz. And then the 2nd largest was the one that just did fit around that sentiment. And I thought, well, you know, sometimes if people are designing different kind of cards with different kind of things on them, maybe I need to try to make that a little smaller. So I went back, I reduced the font size down to 12, and I got this when I went ahead, I retyped it to go in a vertical manner, okay? And then here is this one again, also at the 12, and it shows up just fine for a card. However, I already had these, so I'm going to use those. But you see how you've got actually over half of your sheet that you can die cut and do different things with, and you've got a big area right here. So it's not using, you're not typing up and committing yourself to a whole sheet of cardstock. And I have a Brother printer, and I simply left my setting on plain paper, but I increased the quality of the printing. I increased that so that it would be nice and crisp on the typeface. So I did do that, and then I just ran it through, and my printer did not have an issue printing on the cardstock, even though it thought it was printing on plain paper. Okay, so here we go with this, and I am simply going to go ahead and glue that down. You could absolutely pop it up with dimensionals if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Let me get this on here, and then we're going to do the inside real quick, and I'll show you the sentiment that I used inside. And that did come from a Stampin' Up set that is in the mini catalog. I think I'm a little crooked right there. Let me glitch that up just a little bit. There we go. And of course you could have die cut that up, you know, with a circle or anything that you wanted to use. Now, my original intent for this was also to kind of make a little bit of a country Christmas feel, and I think the craft paper just kind of tied that in. I didn't even add any bling or anything to this. I thought this would be great, mass producible, if that's what somebody wanted to do. I'm going to lay this open and grab my basic white cardstock, and this I did cut to 4 by 5 1/4 because I wasn't going to double layer it on the inside. Gonna get back out my real red, and the sentiment that I am using is coming from the Hope and Peace set. Isn't that awesome? It's just a bunch of wonderful sentiments for Christmas, for those of us who do celebrate it as Christ's birthday, okay? And having said that, let me tell you, if someone gives you a Christmas card that isn't particularly religious, if someone wishes you a happy holiday, you will be grateful for that too, right? People don't have to give you a card. People don't have to tell you happy holidays or Merry Christmas or, you know, any of that. So I am always grateful and appreciative of those who do that for me, and I don't give it a second thought if it's not Merry Christmas. That just doesn't bother me, okay? We're supposed to have that love and hope in our heart and show it to others, and if they don't do it exactly the way we would do it, it's still really good, right? It is. So there's my sentiment, wishing you the hope and peace of Christ this season. If I know that someone is antagonistic toward Christianity, it is perfectly okay to not give them a Christian-based card. It is perfectly okay to respect how they're feeling and just pray about it, and pray that in time you can show enough of God's light and love that they may start having a whole different attitude toward it, right? So don't force it on people. Just pray for them. Be good to them the way God would want you to be good to them, and let it go. Okay, there we go. So there it is. Easy peasy simple. Before I get my hands in that, I'm going to clean my stamp ever so quickly. Get all that red off. I am going to be using it again on the second card, but in the meantime, it pays for me to be wise. All right, so on the next card, it's going to go in a landscape, and I have got a white card base for this one. And I am going to have a green and white layer on the inside, and I'm going to have a green and white layer on the outside. But for the moment, what I need to do is take this white layer and emboss it. Now, we had a set that came out last year, and it was a Merriest Moments, and here is the embossing folder that goes with that. It is a hybrid embossing folder. There is a die that you can place in here. It will emboss and die cut all at the same time. However, just for now, all we are going to do is emboss it. We're just going to emboss this white layer, and I'm going to position this in here the best I can. My white layer is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's not going to get just every little bit of it, but it's going to get about 99%. We'll close that up. Let me get my machine back up here. Okay, took me a second to get out the magnetic plate because this is a 3D. So all we need is our embossing platform, our embossing folder, and our gray specialty plate. Ooh, a little dusty there. All right. I have learned, you know, an old trick to getting a better embossing, if you need to do that, which with our 3D, really, we don't need to do that. But we used to spritz our cardstock with a little bit of water. I never really cared for that. And I didn't care for that because sometimes it's really hard to control how much you spritz it. And if you get it too wet, you're in trouble, because then you're having to let all that dry. You see that? I didn't spritz it, but look how beautiful. Isn't that pretty? All right, that's an awesome background. I was so happy when they brought it back. And I hope that you have that set, or if you don't have that set, you may think about getting that set. And so we are going to take the card base, yes, and I didn't even tell you guys, I'm sorry. It's basic white, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Nothing new there. So one of my next door neighbors come down with COVID, and bless her heart. The neat thing is she's young, and it's one of the newer versions of COVID, so it's much milder, and she is getting treatment, which is always a blessing. I think she really just had a low-grade fever and a lot of chilling and stuff like that. So anyway, she's been on our prayer list. Absolutely. Okay. And especially in the middle of summer when you're young and it clips your wings. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. But sister and mom are doing well. So far, so good. All right, we're just going to lay this on here. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which way you turn it. It really doesn't. So my pear pizzazz layer was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And my white embossed layer is 4 by 5 1/4. There we go. All right, now we are going to have to stamp and die cut one more candy cane. And I've got a little piece of scrap here. And because I know it would be wise for me to use my Stamparatus, we're going to go back to it. But I don't need both of them. Only need one. I don't even know how big this scrap is. I think it was something that I meant to use as a layer somewhere along the way and never did. So here we go. We're just going to ink this one up. It's a little further away from the hinge, and hopefully it'll be a lot easier to get a good impression than it was the first time. Make sure I'm not going off my cardstock. Nope, I'm good. All right. I'm going to do that one more time. I mean, it's okay. It's doable. But I want that just a little more vibrant. I really do. Let's do that one more time. Okay. Better. Much better. Yes, much better. I am going to... I know I'm going to get ink on my fingers. I'll have to get my towel out one more time. Make sure I'm getting this clean. And that looks pretty good. My fingers not so much, but that looks good. So we got that one clean. Here's the one I had picked up. Make sure I got that good and clean. I've already been in here today playing, so I've still got Stampin' Mist on my Stampin' Scrub there. All right, I've got that and that. And here's my stamp case. Let's go ahead and put these up for safekeeping. Oh, heavens. Here we go. And I like the sentiments that came with the sweet candy cane. I do. I like them. They're not necessarily Christian-based, but they're good. They are. Wishing you lots of love, joy, and happiness this Christmas season and always. How is that not a Christian sentiment? Christmas cheer. May the good times of today become the cherished memories of tomorrow. Hey, we all have that, right? As children growing up, we have our fond memories of what it was like to grow up and what Christmas was like back in the day. Merry and bright, why not? These are all blessings from God, guys. So, absolutely, absolutely. I can clean that later. Yeah, I think sometimes we can get so into, if it doesn't specifically say God, or if it doesn't specifically say Jesus, then we feel like it's not Christian. Well, what is Christian? Doesn't that mean Christ-like? And our Heavenly Father gives us many, many blessings. Family and friends is a huge one, right? All right, so now I'm going to lay this up here. Hopefully in camera range we can see what I'm doing. Putting my magnetic plate back on here. I like mine lined up. I don't like them staggered. And I think that habit keeps me from warping my cutting plates as quickly. I think they hold up better and longer. I don't flip mine. What I use on top is what I always use on top. What I use on the bottom is what I always use on the bottom. And I do get warpage after a while, but it's very mild and it's correctable. All right. This off of here. Don't you love static cling? I'm going to lay that right there. Put this to the side. I've got a lot more paper on there I can use for die cutting. All right. One more time. And now we really are done with the big boss. So he's going to go away. All right. So I want to, before I lose it, definitely want to get that put in there safe and sound. And again, we're going to use that same sentiment we used on the first card for the inside of that card. And let's just go ahead and get that stamped. As a matter of fact, this stamp set, this was the first time I had used it, was yesterday. And if I was to open up my stamp case, you would see that I don't even have the stickers put on everything. I don't. All right. Now, I didn't, but you could take some of that green foliage stamp and place on the inside too. A technique I use sometimes is that I will take, I'll take like the foliage stamp it off a couple of times so it's really faint, and maybe just put a couple of them in the words to kind of give the words a little bit more of a backdrop, but you don't have to do that. All right, did I even stamp it straight? Yeah, for the most part, it actually is. Let's go ahead and mount this to our piece of Pizzazz. You see I got a little bit of red on there. Hey, if I can travel it, I'm good at it. Yesterday when I was doing this card for the first time, and I looked and I saw I had red splotches smeared here and there over that white embossed piece. It's like there is no way I can cover that up. Like there was way too much of it. It was everywhere. And it's like, how did I do that? Oh my goodness, that was funny. All right, let's put this on the inside and we'll have the inside part done. But I love the fonts on that. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. I love Pear Pizzazz. Not necessarily a green I normally reach for. Usually I'm reaching for garden green or shaded spruce or evening evergreen, you know, one of those. But I thought the Pear Pizzazz was a good complement to the Real Red for these cards. However, if you decide to replicate this, you do you, and design it your way. Okay. All right. So for this one, I did the same thing. It was in the larger typeface, and I have got my front to go on my backing. So we're going to attach that real quick, but before we glue the whole thing down, we are going to do one thing to this embossed layer. Okay, I think I'm kind of sort of straight there. All right, let's lay that down, and I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to, on the raised areas, I'm just going to fill that in so there is a little bit of sparkle. I'm not trying to be perfect by any means, just on the raised highlights, and it doesn't take but a hot minute to get that done. So the other day I found some nasturtium seeds. I don't even know how long I've had them. And so early in the week of July 4th, I tried planting a few of them to see if they would come up. Now, had I kept them in the fridge, I know they would have still been viable, but I had neglected to put them in the fridge. And so I soaked them overnight and then let them kind of dry a little bit and planted them. And there was a couple of days I forgot to kind of go out there and give them fresh water. But I went out there earlier today, and I think maybe I see one. Maybe. Not real sure. And I didn't want to dig at it and kill it if it was trying to germinate. So we'll see how those go. My front flower bed is doing so well. It is so pretty. Oh my goodness, everything's just really taking off. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm real picky. Like, I want low maintenance, heat loving, ever blooming plants. As much as that I can get. I'm not a fond of annuals. However, there's a lot of annuals out there that are really, really pretty, and they stand up really well too. All right, now Wink of Stella pretty much instantly dries, and that has. So at this point, yes, now I can go ahead and put this on. We're going to go ahead and lay this down before we put our candy cane on there. Now, yesterday, and I thought about getting out the shimmer paper to stamp and die cut out the candy cane. I could have done that. However, our shimmer paper is not white, but it's not vanilla. It's kind of somewhere in between, and I didn't think it would look right on this card. So I just did I got a little something something there. I just did the traditional red on white. Now, you cannot put Wink of Stella on here. You can if you stick to the large red stripes, but if you try to get the little ones, it will make it bleed. Ask me how I know that. All right, now we are gonna I want to figure out where I want this. I pre-did a little bow out of the Real Red sheer ribbon, and I meant to go look to see if that had carried over because it was last year's ribbon. It may have carried over, but I don't want it hiding my sentiments, so I think we may just go ahead and put that over there. All right, Let's just go ahead and do that. I don't think it's gonna look right. If I move that bow down, I don't want it way down there. I think that would look funny. I think that would look really funny. All right, so let's glue down the candy cane and then we'll attach our bow. I didn't get my glue dots out because what I used on my card yesterday was Tombow, and that's what I choose to use today. All right, and I'm only putting one on here, unlike the other card where I used 2 canes. I'm only gonna do 1, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on here. I tend to forget to use ribbon, and I need to get in the habit of using it because I've got some beautiful Stampin' Up! Ribbon, and some of it is still current. I'm just gonna hold that for a second. Now, if you are challenged in doing bows, you all have probably seen demonstrated the method for doing a knot, and that works really well too. I don't know, is that gonna hold? Did I get enough? Let me make sure. Let me put a little bit more on there. There we go. Now we're talking some serious hold here. Stick that back up there and hold that for a second. I wondered why that wasn't grabbing hold. But you may or may not have ever seen these. And so this is my little secret weapon for getting a good bow. And I'll show you how that works here in just a second. If I can get this to hold. Now, I didn't have an issue yesterday, but for some reason today I have an issue. All right. Okay, I give up. We're gonna get the glue dots. There they are. Here are my glue dots. Get on my Take Your Pick tool. I just don't have time to fiddle with it. So I'm gonna pick that up intact, because the way this particular bow came out, I've got quite an area right there. You can put that down. Now it's not wanting to stick. There we go. Have I got it? No, it's on my finger. Help. All right, now it's under there. Now my tail is getting sideways. There we go. There we go. Now we're on there. Stay. All right, so if you've never seen one of these, they're actually really, really easy. And if you know if you have a woodworking friend or someone like that, they can absolutely make you one. But you simply just figure out, first of all, how big a bow you want. And so to get this size bow here, I've only got 1 hole in between. You're going to simply bring this over. You're going to take it under and over. And because I'm working off of the bolt and I don't have it pre-cut, normally what you would do is take this and come over, but I'm doing it a little backwards. So I'm going to go over, under, and through, and try to make sure it's not twisted, and then give that a little bit of a tug right there in the middle. There we go. And then you can either take these off or just slide them off the pegs, and you can adjust that if you need to. And let me bring a little bit more in to that side, and then just take your snips and trim your tails. It's really easy, and you can make really big bows if you want to do that. All right, but I thought I would show you that in case you've seen these and wondered how they worked, or if you've never seen them and you're bow challenged like me. Okay, so here is this card, and I glued that on there upside down. I'll be a monkey's uncle. Do you see what I did? That's hilarious. You know what? I'm going to give it to them just like that. I'll put another piece of cardstock and stamp it the other way, and it'll look just like that's how I meant to make it. All right, before we end this, let me bring in the original card I had designed. And I had used an embossing folder called Pine Planks that is now retired. And I thought, well, I know I can't do that for you. I had also done some clear embossing on the candy canes to kind of give it a little bit of a shine. And I don't know if I can get that to pick up on camera. So today we didn't do any heat embossing. And we put that Pear Pizzazz backing behind the saying, the poem, okay? Now, yesterday I told you I totally messed up. I had red all over it, so I took a blending brush and some more real red and just kind of feathered that around. But the more I looked at it, the more I didn't like it. I really didn't. And I thought, no, my vision was to have a white sparkly background with that. So what do you think, guys? As far as the front of the card goes, I don't know what designs you like the best, which techniques you like the best. But anyway, guys, I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye.